And we're live. Welcome to Music Matters with Jason Tramm, and thank you so much for joining us for our unique podcast community where we explore the triumphs and challenges of the performing arts world as seen through the eyes of distinguished artists. And thank you so much for helping us grow. We hit 1,850 subscribers this week, and we grow every day thanks to people like you. So please remember to click that subscribe button and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. We love when you like and share our videos, and keep on commenting. And remember, you can join the conversation by chatting and questions and comments in the chat. We love that, and we'll ask them on the air. So thank you so much for joining us. To see our over 270 past episodes, check out our website at www.jasontram.net. Again, that's www.jasontram.net. We have a wonderful guest today. We have Dane Lewis, who is an indie singer-songwriter and a country artist, and he's really doing some great work, and delighted he's here. He's on the way to a gig, and we're delighted he's on the show today. So welcome, Dane.
How's it going, man? Good to meet you. Good to be on.
It's going great. Hey, did you always know you wanted to be an artist?
Actually, it's kind of a funny thing. A lot of people recently kind of started asking, did you ever have any inkling to do it when you were a kid? And I think everybody wants to be a rock star when they're a kid, but no, I was going to be an architect or something kind of feasible for a while, and then in the last couple of years, I got into middle school and early high school and started playing guitar and playing with some different bands, and I got to the point that I was like, well, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. So it's been a lot of fun so far. It's been challenging, but that's good.
Now you're currently based in Nashville. Are you from Nashville originally?
Nope, I'm from a little town called Sioux City, Iowa, on the western border of Iowa along the Missouri River. It's a great place to grow up, a lot of good schools, a lot of good people, and it was a good formative place for my youth.
Fantastic. And did country music, was that always a part of your singing? And did you listen to country as a kid?
No, actually, not at all. I ironically enough, I'm a big classic rock, Bob Seger, Tom Petty kind of guy. And so I really got into that. That was what my folks listened to all the time. And basically, I wound up on Sundays. They would play football games on the radio stations. So I switched over to the country station while I was in the tractor. My dad was a farmer, and then I started listening to country music through doing that. And I was like, there's something to this stuff. All this Jason Aldean, Eric Church type stuff is a lot like all the classic rock with the Leonard Skinner era and all that stuff. So that kind of is what bit me with it, and I've stuck with it ever since, and I've enjoyed it.
So when did you start writing songs?
I think I probably started writing about 7th grade, starting writing really, really crappy, really bad songs. But
gotta crawl before you can walk, right?
Absolutely. And we're all just out here trying to run. So it's been a lot of fun so far. But yeah, songwriting's been a therapeutic thing for me for a lot of years. I've enjoyed it, and it's been a very nice thing to be able to lean on.
Did you come from a musical family?
Not really. My mom did show choir and stuff. My dad was actually not a bad singer, but he didn't sing. It was just in the car and stuff like that. But he always had pretty good pitch. So, I think it was more of like what you want to do with it. None of us were tone deaf, but none of us really did anything with it. I have a cousin that played in a band on American Bandstand back in the 70s. So that's probably my closest musical relatives, but.
So what are some of your influences growing up? Who are some of the bands that influenced you the most in your songwriting?
I would have to kind of stick to that idea of Tom Petty and a lot of Bob Seger, a lot of John Mellencamp, especially coming from a farm family. That was a writing style that I really got attached to, and the honesty of it, and so. I always enjoyed that. A lot of Leonard Skinner and all that kind of stuff.
Some great music there, right? What I love about country music today, there's certainly a lot of genre blending going on. What do you have to say about that?
Oh yeah. It's some of it's great, and some of it, in my humble opinion, isn't so great. But it's a nice welcome place for everybody. I mean, everybody can find something that they like in country music today. Whether they're more pop oriented or more rock oriented, it is really a welcoming community. And there's still a lot of country purists out there that are kind of holding down the fort and making sure that it doesn't stray too far from its original intended audience. But some days that can be more of a chore than others. But
So you moved from Sioux City to Nashville. What was it like hitting the Nashville scene?
it's been interesting so far. A very welcoming community. I'll lead with that. All the artists and writers around here, they're all very happy to be down here and working and in the community, and it's been very exciting so far, to see how everyone else works and kind of try to learn from that and harness it a little bit.
Talk about the center of the country and singer songwriting world, certainly. And now I hear from my friends that there's all these like get-togethers where great songwriters come together in groups and co-write songs. Are you doing a lot of co-writing these days?
I've been writing a little bit with some of my buddies that were already down here, and but for the most part, I've been having a lot of time to really write by myself and kind of channel all the things that I've learned and all the different influences I've had over the years. So, so far, not a whole heck of a lot, but I got some on the books with some other new writers to get some new styles and new impressions in my stuff.
What's it like co-writing music? I mean, we were talking to some of the artists who do a lot of that, and it was like it's like speed dating. They come together, they work on a piece. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm always fascinated by that process.
It really is kind of interesting, man. A lot of folks, they a lot of folks write very similar down here, and that's the kind of folks that I try not to write with too terribly much. But there's a couple standouts that are really kind of holding it down and doing their own thing, and I admire that. But yeah, it is. When I go into a writer's room, my main thought process is I'm not writing a song for me. I'm writing a song, and if it winds up being something that fits or something that fits my style, that sounds great. But if you go in trying to write something for yourself, usually you'll wind up short selling yourself just a little bit and accommodating to someone else's style. So it's a weird organic process, but it's a lot of fun.
How does a songwriter and an artist find their voice, and how long did it take you to find yours?
You just start smoking cigarettes at 16 years old, and then eventually you get enough gravel in it. No,
Worked
but
for
no,
Steve
overall,
Tyler.
there you go. Yeah, exactly. It works for a lot of cats. No, I finally kicked it a little bit. So that's good. But no, as far as finding a voice, I think it comes through years of, I like to quote Glenn Fry from the Eagles on it. He just said, you got to go out and suck. Like, you have to go out, play a bunch of shows, have terrible shows, have great shows. And then eventually you'll find kind of a middle ground that you can hang your hat on and a good group of guys to play with. And usually that's all it takes. And surrounding yourself with musicians that are better than you usually tends to make you a better musician.
Ain't that the truth? That's no different. I work in classical music, and it's no different there. I tell my students, get out there, play with better people than you. Same if you play tennis, so get out there, get your ass handed to you. You learn, be a student of the art form, and you grow with it over time.
Sure thing.
I always tell everyone that the music business is a marathon, not a sprint, and get out there. And, I love that advice for young people because it's so easy to get discouraged, and the music business can be such a negative thing. There's always so much negative feedback. You always get those, I may get a million comments, but the one comment that's negative bothers me all the time.
Exactly. And I learned that a long time ago, and it really does. It builds your character. You learn a lot more from the negative comments, though, because you're wondering, how can I even impress that one guy? And it might not matter, but yeah, no, it's a weird dynamic trying to hear everybody's voice. And but I've always grown the most from the negative comments. I've always grown the most from being told that wasn't good enough, rather than getting fluffed and having people cater to you and kiss your rear end.
That's a good point. So you're down in Nashville. What was it like doing your first recording session down in the big city? And there's such a hallowed places to work down there, and there's such great artists who work with so many people, and you've worked with quite a few. So tell us what it's like to work with the greats.
It was a little intimidating. It was a little daunting at first, but we were in the studio at a place called the Ruckus Room in Berry Hill with an awesome, amazing engineer named Jamie Tate, and Jamie had a way of just calming us all down and kind of letting us know, it's going to be all right. And man, this guy's had some insane accolades. If you look up the artists he's worked with, it's just a laundry list of hits and successful artists. So that was intimidating. But the way that Jamie works, you see how so many artists out of that studio are successful, because he just has a way of calming everybody down and focusing you on the task, but keeping it fun all the way.
What are some things you took away from that? Some additional things about the artistry, and whoever you work with these artists, it's always there's so much you can learn and kind of absorb from them.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's there's a lot to take away, I guess, in the sense of um understanding that you're not better than anybody. Everybody's always got a bigger fish. You can be as great as you want in this industry. You can be the best recording artist, anything. But as soon as you think that you're the top dog, that's how you get knocked down really fast. So I think just understanding and appreciating the space you're in, rather than trying to prove anything, is the best approach.
That's good advice, I think, for everybody. I remember, in the opera field, I had one of the best voice teachers in New York was telling me, he's like, no matter who you are, there's always someone out there in Sioux City, Iowa, or insert the city, that's going to be better than you, and it's just getting their stuff together and putting it all together. It's about doing what you do the best and being the best of you that you can be.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's a pretty weird dynamic, but it builds you. It builds you a lot. It builds a lot of character.
So, what have you learned by being in the studio over the years, and how does that, it's such a steep learning curve, like learning to be a studio artist. Tell us about that growth.
The weirdest thing is, I mean, you can go to some studios. A lot of it is in your engineer, and your producer, because you can go to a lot of studios and a lot of them will say, "Oh, you're great, you're fantastic, that's good. We just one take Jake that," and then they leave you with it. And then you have the producers like Jamie that are nice about the way that they push you to be better, and I think that's where the biggest growth comes from. So, all in all, uh, learning that again, that you're not the best there is, and just sticking to your guns of what you know, and then being open to everything else that you can be taught is a pivotal part of the experience in any studio that you go to, and also knowing when maybe you're not in the right studio, maybe it's just not the right fit. So
And what tells you that? How do you get that feeling? And what do you do?
usually the recording sucks.
It speaks
But
for itself, right?
no, yeah, no. But I mean, with Jamie, I guess the biggest thing that I can say is every demo or every rough cut that I've heard so far, we're just getting into the mixing and mastering phase. But even just straight into the board, I've loved how everything has sounded, and I've gone through final processes on certain records that I've done in the past at different studios, and I've gotten the very final pass, the very final product, and I hated listening to it. And I think that's kind of a humility thing of not wanting to listen to your own stuff, but for the most part, enjoying the product that you put out is a really telltale sign of whether you were in the right place or not.
Absolutely. It's never easy to listen to your own work, though. I'm the same way with my work, too. I always watch my conducting to see how I did, and it's like, oh. It's a process, but it's very important for
Yeah,
self-growth.
no, absolutely. Well, as soon as you plateau and you think that was good enough, that's how you get bad.
Yep, either you're growing or you're disappearing. So, where are you on the way to tonight?
We're on our way down to a little venue called it was originally called Puckett's. It's called Fox and Lock. They have an awesome little 20 rider selection tonight. That so it's everyone goes up, does a couple songs, and it's really great to see a lot of different artists. It's a great way to meet a bunch of people that you can write with and different people you can work with in the future. So I've enjoyed going here since I moved about a month ago, and it's a great time. Great people down there.
Yeah, there's so much creative energy down there in Nashville, and so many creative people come together. It must be just constantly energizing.
It is, and I was very complacent when I was in Sioux City because we kind of climbed our own ladder, and everyone loved what we were doing, but there was a ceiling on it. We'd hit a point where it's like, all right, well, for this exact location, unless you're going to tour out of here, you capped out. And then I came to Nashville and watched a bunch of writers that could write circles around me every day of the week, and it's really inspiring to kind of have them refuel your fire and be like, I can do better than that guy. You know, it's just good
Yeah,
motivation.
we all need that kind of motivation, and it's just great to have all the colleagues right there. And yeah, there's nowhere else in the country, you know, especially for what your genre. You're in the center of the musical world. Got to be there, make things happen.
Oh yeah, that's it too. That's the biggest thing is being here.
How do social issues and what's going on in your life affect your songwriting?
You know, I like to say that every song that I've written has come from a personal experience. So basically, if you listen to any of the songs that I record, we only have one single out right now, but every song that I play in a live show comes from a real experience. It comes from a real person. So I like to, you know, as artists, we embellish a lot of things a little bit.
Creative license.
But exactly, there you go. You take creative license with it, but it's a good thing, I think, to stick to your guns and go through heartbreaks, go through trials and tribulations through the years. That way it builds you not only as an artist, but as a storyteller. And that's my favorite thing about country music specifically, is telling stories, telling authentic things that happen. And in my experience, the more personal that you've made a song, like literally down to the most specific way that you could write it, it winds up being even more relatable than just generic cookie cutter stuff that will appeal to the masses.
Yes, and that's the thing about a lot of pop music today, is it's meant to be like a Big Mac. I tell my students like a Big Mac. They eat it and it's gone. You don't even remember it 5 minutes from now. But it was, you know, it's fun. But you know,
it filled you.
It's there,
Yeah.
but it's not like a great meal where you sit there and savor every bite, and very different intention.
Right. Yes, exactly.
What do you listen to? What's on your iPod when you're not listening to country music?
It's kind of funny. My guitarist and I are really into these two different pop groups, the Midnight and Nightly. They both really similar styles of kind of like, it's almost like an 80s synth pop thing, but they all have like saxophone in them and stuff. It's really great. So I listen to a lot of that. When I go to the gym, I listen to a lot of heavy metal and stuff like that. I'm kind of a metalhead to that notion, but everything, man. I mean, I listen to just about everything. I like a lot of singer-songwriter folk type stuff, like Jason Isbell and a lot of guys like that, but that kind of falls under the country hat a lot too. So
Certainly does, like a Venn diagram. There's a lot of singers, they fall within the country and kind of their own unique worlds. Yeah, it's great how we all listen to lots of different music, and how that's different, affects us in different ways. I'm usually, when I'm on the treadmill, I'm listening to classical music, and I'm working on some stuff so I can sit there and think. And then I go lift weights, and it's heavy metal, and back to.
There you go. Yep. Need the right motivation at the right
keeps
time.
life interesting.
There you go.
So tell me about what it was like during the COVID period when all of our live performances stopped and everything changed. What was it like for you?
Man, I honestly, I was working construction for about 3 years. I was a carpenter, and I did finished work at all these different houses, and tape, texture, drywall, paint, everything to do with the house. And it fueled me. Once my shows went away on the weekends, I was like, man, I got to get out of this. It was driving me stir crazy to not be able to go do shows anymore, and I felt less and less like an artist. So I kind of took the plunge and decided, all right, well, if I can make it in 2020 as a musician, I can make it any year as a musician. So that led to a lot of live streams with tips from people that, that was a super big supportive system. Was doing those live streams on, Twitch and a bunch of different websites, Facebook. And so that was helpful. There was a nice solace, I guess, in the pandemic for me and my guys, though, being from the same town, because we were able to get into a studio and write and just hang out. We did it ourselves. My bass player is an amazing producer and engineer in his own right.
A handy guy to have around.
Yes, he's a multi-musician, man. He plays bass, guitar, drums, sings, writes, does everything. He's an awesome guy. His name's Briar Burns. Everyone should go check him out. But yeah, so he and I worked a lot. I mean, just kind of hanging out. And I mean, there was nothing else to do. You couldn't go anywhere, couldn't go to a restaurant, couldn't go to a bar. So it was, and no one else was doing anything. That was the biggest solace, is it's not like you're being a bum, because everyone's being a bum. And it was creatively liberating, I guess you could say.
So those live streams, how long did your concerts go?
I would typically go about an hour, hour and a half, I think, just hanging out. But we had some that went 2 hours, some that, it depends on the interaction of that night. But no one else had anything to do once they went home from work, if they were able to go to work. And so it was kind of a nice breakup to have conversations with people through that too, the same way we would back in the bars.
I've heard a lot of guests have talked about this as like we do this. We do music because I like to feel the energy from the crowd and feel the emotions coming off of people. What's it like when you finish a song and then silence?
Man, the weirdest one was we played at this local venue in my hometown of Sioux City called the Marquee that we absolutely love. It's a staple place that we play every time we're in Sioux City. My friend Mitch Martin that runs sound for us on a lot of our town festivals and stuff through the summer, he owns it, and he had a great idea to have a band series of bringing in bands, and they had a film crew. It was just a sound guy, a camera guy, and then I think like a stage hand, and then the band would come in. We're all, respecting the social distancing parameters and all that stuff. But it was so weird because the band lit up and we started playing, and it felt like normal all over again. Because you can kind of isolate yourself from the crowd in that moment. That's typically what I do when I play anyways. Well, then we hit the end of it, and it was like, wow, it's like back when I started, and there's 3 people at the bar that didn't care that I was in there, So it was a weird experience to get over that. But basically, I think it makes you a better entertainer too, because you have to learn how to tell jokes and roll off the spot and keep the energy high. So.
And what's it been like getting back to live performances once again?
Oh, night and day, man. I mean, it's been so fantastic, and the reception of the audience has been so much more welcoming too, because everybody's still just happy to be able to go somewhere and do something. I think everyone has been so hungry for it for so long that it's just like getting a drink of water in the middle of a desert for a lot of folks. So the energy I've noticed has been a lot higher and a lot more engaged than it had been in the past.
Well, that's great. I mean, we certainly all, after that year, everyone can't wait to get out and just socialize and hear live bands, feel the live music. I mean, there's only so much Netflix and, iPods that we can listen to, right?
That ain't no joke, man. We burned them all out, too.
We've binged ourselves silly.
Into oblivion, yep, no doubt.
So how has the COVID and the pandemic and the aftermath, how has it affected your songwriting? It has a lot of, I'm amazed by the just pouring out of music coming out of, and, how this has changed society.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I for one, when we sent the producer a folder of songs to pick out of the songs that we did, 60 songs ready to go that I'd written in that period. And it's crazy, but I mean, there's nothing else to do. The one thing I do enjoy and appreciate about the pandemic is it's kind of been an unspoken rule. We can talk about it, but not to release any media about it. Most movies don't, show, oh yeah, this is 2020, we're wearing masks. They don't make jokes about it. A lot of the music doesn't talk about it. Luke Combs had a song come out called 6 Feet Apart that he released in the pandemic, but ever since then, I have some songs that I wrote about the pandemic that I'm like, I'm not going to release them because I don't think anyone wants to think about that ever again, or jinx it and have it come back or something different or whatever. So,
and put those on the live sets.
Yes, exactly.
So what are you working on right now?
We just finished doing 6 songs with Jamie, and we're kind of debating whether we want to go back in and do some more, or if we want to chew on this for a while and release it and gives the people something to listen to. So we're kind of deliberating right now as a band and with my management team and everything like that. But basically my plan is just to kind of get back to playing a lot of shows this summer. Hopefully we have some runs back home towards Iowa, towards the Midwest, and hopefully branch out of Nashville a little bit and get on some different shows and get around to different people.
We'll keep on getting on those stages and making it happen.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, given that we've been all running around so much and just coming back, I've had some artists from Canada. They were closed down till like basically this month. There was no live performances till this month. It's the craziest thing. I'm just amazed by how, across the world we're seeing all artists kind of finding their way back and It's interesting to see how my colleagues in the other countries have handled this. How have you seen what's like the climate with the other artists you work with?
Um, the other artists are, and I mean, the ones that I typically work with are all on the same page. We're just hungry to get back to work in any capacity. We've all kind of had this unspoken rule too, to not get political about it, not, talk about this nation's doing that or that nation's doing that. It's just, man, we just miss doing what we did. And it's simple.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see how things are handled in different ways. I'm always fascinated, but
It's been a good time.
well, it's great to
Lose you
just
a
be
little bit.
back on the stage.
Yep, absolutely.
So, do you have any plans on coming out? The recordings coming out, singles or LPs?
Yeah, we're kind of deliberating with the management team right now to see what the plan is. It's funny, as soon as you get this machine rolling really well with the right people, it kind of, a lot of those decisions aren't up to you anymore. But I think that's for a good thing. They have a tactic and plan about all of it. So we're hanging on to them right now, and we're in the final mixing process. And just all I can tell everybody is just stay tuned for release dates on all of it. And if you want to hear the songs, best way to do it right now is come to a live show sometime.
And where's the next live show?
The next live show is going to be on my schedule tomorrow. I'm not sure.
Wherever it tells you to
Um,
go.
we,
I'm the same way.
yeah, we play enough of them, and it's just, man, it's a scatterbox to try to remember everywhere that we go and all the shows we play. But we got a lot of fun ones. We got a show or two with Ryan Hurd this summer, I think, and there's some different national artists that we kind of have that we're working on contracts with, and hopefully we get to release a lot more info on that too. So right now it's like everyone can chew on the new single "Whiskey Wears Off" that's out on Spotify, iTunes, and Apple Music, anywhere you guys catch music. But other than that, just stay tuned to my stupid TikTok or anything like that. I'll post little snippets of here and there, but
Make sure you follow Dane. Dane's obviously an artist on the move, as we can see. He's in the car right now, and he's driving to a gig, so we love it. So, Dane, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And so, how can people find out more about you? You're on social media. What's your website?
my website is Dane Lewis Official. Dane like the dog, Lewis like St. Louis. DaneLewisOfficial.com, and on there you can have my link to my Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, the link to our fan club, which is through OnlyFans. That's not a joke. So I think that's a really funny asset to give everybody the inside scoop, and it also leads to a discount at the merch store. So if anyone wants to check that out, I think it's $5 a month, and we'll be posting all the songs a little early to give people something to chew on where they won't be able to listen to it on most of the major streaming platforms, but they'll be coming out to the fan club first. So but yeah, check everything out at DaneLewisOfficial.com, man.
Also, here, I was listening to him on Spotify today. Also, I saw the music video for Whiskey on YouTube, too. So check that out. What was it like making that music video?
It was a lot of fun, man. We had a great time doing it. We did it all around my hometown. The venue I was talking about earlier, the Marquee, is actually where we shot that music video. So we had a great turnout for that, and it was a really busy day, but it turned out to be a really good project. My buddy Mike Kessel, who actually just shot a live performance video with us that we'll be releasing in coalition with the next single, he shot it, and we just did another one with him because he did such a great job. So we're excited to have worked with him again, and work with him again in the future.
I've got to ask, since you're on Spotify and all the streaming platforms, and indie artists today have you've got the possibility of getting your music out there to a global audience, like we never had in the past before. What's it like when you get someone who responds to your music from somewhere across the globe? What is that like?
It's pretty surreal interaction. The fact that we have all the availability to do all this and get to an audience that we haven't been able to before, and the internet's kind of led into it to make it so artists don't have to rely so heavily on a label or a radio push anymore. So it's just nice to be accessible and let a lot of people's algorithms lead you to lead them to our music that they might not have listened to or found before. So different outlets like Spotify and iTunes and Apple Music have been fantastic for us so far.
Yeah, it's quite powerful tools. What's it like trying to break through because there's so much white noise these days? I mean, the amount of musicians and music being released is staggering. But how does an artist like yourself, how do you start to break through?
I think the biggest thing that a lot of people, and I mean, this is coming from me, I haven't broken through hard yet, but basically staying as authentic to yourself and staying as genuine to your music as you like, kind of like I said earlier about songwriting. um, the more personal you make it and the more you yourself you are, everybody's pretty unique, but it's when you start taking in other people's styles or other people's ideas is when you start to get generalized, and then you're not as desirable, because unless you have one really standout song, it's not going to be that palatable for anybody. They can just go, if you want to sound exactly like Jason Aldean, they can just go listen to Jason Aldean.
For sure.
If you want to sound exactly like anybody. So I think the biggest thing is to try to be unapologetically yourself. And a lot of guys, buddies of mine like Coetzel and or that come from the underground scene and the independent scene, they're having a lot of success with that just by following that thought process.
And building the grassroots audience. And do you find that live shows are the best for building up your audience, or is it a mixture of the digital world, or is it the combined work of both of them?
I think our live shows drive our digital world primarily because I'm not a big tech guy. Like I love the tools of social media and everything like that, but I honestly hate all of it. I would just assume somebody caught a live show because they're going to get the best experience and the most takeaway from that. So I think our live shows have brought the energy and the inspiration to go seek us on other outlets afterwards. So I think that we've captured more new fans exponentially from live shows over online engagements.
Nothing like being moved by an artist, and reach out to the people listening. Is if you have an artist you love, go see them live, support them. How can fans support indie artists they love today?
Honestly, buy the T-shirt. I could tell everybody the joke of honestly 90% of bands, we're just glorified clothing salesmen or saleswomen, because effectively, that is the biggest turning point. I paid for most of my record with merch sales, and otherwise that would have came out of my pocket. So if anybody wants, people want new songs, well, that ain't necessarily cheap if you want to do it right and make them sound good. So the best way to do that is to support your artists with by buying their merchandise and buying any songs that they have out currently.
Certainly the case. I mean, we had Stacey Weidlitz on the show, and Stacey wrote "She's Like the Wind," which was used in Dirty Dancing with Patrick Swayze, and he's like, "We got 39 million views last year, and it paid us $1,790." So streaming's not paying the
crazy,
bills.
Never, ever. But yeah, T-shirt sales and physical sales are actually the driving force of most musicians' bank accounts. So.
Yeah, so support the artists you love. The music, these people work so hard and to put their music out there, to pour their hearts and souls into it, and make sure you support them. There's such an interesting solution. As you were saying, OnlyFans. So you're the first I met who was on OnlyFans in a musical context. Glad to hear that it's being used for the forces of good.
Well, the funny thing is that it was the biggest joke to me, because that was the intended purpose of the website when they initially came out with it. It was much like Patreon or a lot of other websites. That was the intended purpose, was to make fan clubs easy for artists to do, because if you don't have a gigantic team behind you, sometimes it can be a little more difficult to fire one up. So me and my bass player came up with the idea for a funny T-shirt that said "Country Band with OnlyFans," and then I kind of ran with it when my publicist was asking me, what we need to get a fan club going. Like, what do you want to do for that? You want to do like a Patreon? Or I was like, why don't we do an OnlyFans? Like, if somebody thinks that it's going to be, lewd or racy, then they can click on it if they're that interested. and at the end of the day, they'll still get some content out of it. Like I said, as soon as you join the fan club, there's a 15% off discount on your whole order in the merch store. And then on top of that, it's just exclusive content, like song releases way earlier than we'll probably end up dropping all the songs on our OnlyFans a month before we release them to the general public. So it gives people a really good insight to the underworkings of how we do things, and just different pictures and stuff. Post the media, not in a nasty context, but
Fantastic.
But no, it's interesting. I thought it would pique people's interest. So
we got our last question from the audience here, and Stacy from Iowa asks, if you could perform a duet with one person living, one person deceased, who would it be?
Ooh, that's a double-edged sword for me, because a guilty pleasure of mine would be to do a song with Tom Petty, hands down. That would cover my deceased end of it. But I think I'm a huge fan. I met her years ago. Lizzie Hale from the rock band Hailstorm is an amazing powerhouse vocalist, and I'd love to do a song with her. I think our voices would mesh super good. So I'd love to work with Lizzie. She's a really awesome chick, really genuine soul.
Great musicians, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Dane, for joining us on Artist on the Move, who's out to do great things, and we will be in touch, and continued success in all your music.
Awesome. Appreciate you, man. Have a good one. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Thank you for joining us on Music Matters with Jason Tramm. Please remember to subscribe on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on upcoming guests and topics. Thank you so much for being here, and remember, keep music alive.